Good evening. So, I'm trying to hold that up there. So I want to do the study where Jacob has decided to go back to his people, to his father's, to his father where he had come from, and he started feeling this way after he had Joseph. In 22, it said, chapter 30 and 25, it said, "And it came to pass when Rachel had born Joseph, that Jacob said to Laban, Send me away that I may go into mine own place and to my country." And we read there 25 through 34 where he is talking to Laban about leaving, and Laban asked him to stay and that he would pay him whatever he asked. And Laban said unto him in 27, "I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake." And he said, "Appoint me thy wages, and I will give it thee. I will give it." So he said, "Whatever wages you want from me, I will give it to you." And he said unto him, "Thou knowest that I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. For it was little which thou hast before I came, and it is now increased into a multitude. And the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now when shall I provide for my own house?" And he said, "What shall I give thee?" And Jacob said, "Thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire." So my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come for my hire before thy face, everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. So he's telling Laban what he wants for his wages. So he stayed there, and he did serve Laban. Then in Genesis 31:3, the Lord spoke to Jacob again, and the Lord said unto Jacob, "Return into the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee." And Jacob sent and called Rebekah and Leah to the field unto his flock. And he said unto them, "I see your father's countenance, that it is not towards me as it was before, but the God of my father hath been with me. And you know that with all my power I have served your father, and your father hath deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But God suffered him not to hurt me. If he said thus, the speckled shall be thy wages, then all the cattle have speckled. And if he said thus, the ringstrait shall be thy hire, then all the cattle were ringstrait." So we see that God blessed Jacob by giving him those that were born the strong cattle. They were the speckled and ringstrait, the ones that Jacob asked for. So Laban he turned from Jacob. He was getting angry with him because he's seen that all the cattle being born from the strong cattle were the ones that was Jacob's. And then in 9 it said, thus God hath taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. And it came to pass at that time that the cattle conceived, and I lifted up mine eyes, and I saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring-straked, speckled, and grizzled. And the angel of God spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Lift up now thine eyes, and see all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ring-straked, speckled, and grizzled. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vowest a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return into the land of thy kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered him, and they said unto him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted to him strangers? For he hath sold us, and hath quite devoured also our money. For all the riches which God hath taken from our father, that is ours and our children's. Now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do. And Jacob arose, and set his sons and his wives upon camels, and he carried away all the cattle, and all his cattle and all his goods, which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting, which he had gotten in Padam Aram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. So they fled and didn't let Laban know they were leaving. And then it comes to pass that Laban sees that they have gone. And then in chapter 20, let's see, no, 31, 3 through 17, and then 31, 20, and 21. So then they left, okay, and they left not telling Laban that they were going, because Jacob knew that Laban was angry and his countenance was not toward him as it was before. But Laban realized they were gone, and he caught up with them. But he sought to take Jacob's wives back and his children and all the cattle. But God came to Laban in a dream, and he told Laban, he warned him, and he said, do not speak good or bad to Jacob. And so in Genesis 31, 30 through 35, I went too far, 30. Laban here in 30, he's talking to Jacob, and he said, and now, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? So we know that Rachel had taken one of Laban's gods, and they put a lot of money in those images. Usually they're gold. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I said peradventure thou wouldest take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live. Before our brethren, discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee, for Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went unto Jacob's tent, and unto Leah's tent, and unto the two maidservants' tents, but he found them not. Then went he out of Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images, and put them in the camel's furniture, and she sat on them. And Laban searched all the tent, and found them not. And she said unto her father, let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but found not the images. So, you know, Rachel, she's always wanting more and more and more. She was never just happy with what she had. Um, so she stole the gods because I guess she thought that she deserved them. She wanted them. And then Jacob was wroth and chode with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, "What is this trespass? What is my sin that thou hast so hotly pursued after me? Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, and hast thou found of all thy household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge between us both." Then Jacob's telling him he was treated unfairly, and he's going to tell it here, starting in chapter 31 and verse 38. This 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she goats have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have I not eaten. That which was torn of beast I brought not unto thee. I bear the loss of it. Of my hand didst thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day, the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from mine eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times. Except God, the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac, hath been with me. Surely thou would have sent me away empty. God hath seen my affliction, the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. So he knew that God had told Laban not to speak good or ill of Jacob, and he warned Laban not to hurt Jacob, basically. Then Laban answers Jacob, and Laban answered and said unto Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou see is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore come, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. So he makes a covenant with Laban, and what Laban asked for, and Laban said, This heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Gilead and Marpha, for he said, The Lord watch between me and thee when we are absent from one another. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou take other wives besides my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness between me and thee. And Laban said to Jacob, Behold this heap, and behold the pillar which I have cast betwixt me and thee. This heap be witness, and this pillar be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their fathers, judge between us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount, and called his brethren to eat bread, and they did eat the bread, and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose, and kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed, and returned into his place. So Laban wanted to make sure that Jacob wouldn't abuse his daughters or take other wives and mistreat them. And so, of course, Jacob didn't do that. He loved Rachel more than anything, and I know he had to have love for Leah as well. I mean, she gave him 6 sons. He just didn't have the love that cleaved to her like the love he cleaved to Rachel. So Jacob is on his way back to his father's house, or his father's land, and we're going to see here, the next study we're going to do is Jacob meets Esau again. And we know that when he had left, Esau was angry with him for stealing the blessing, and he swore that he would kill Jacob. So I'm sure Jacob had apprehension about meeting Esau. So what he did is he sent messengers to Esau in Genesis 32, 3 through 5. And just go ahead and do that one. This one was kind of short, and I'll try to go through this one pretty quickly. And in 32, 3 through 5, it said, And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother, and to the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, Thus shalt ye speak unto my lord Esau. Thy servant Jacob saith thus, I have sojourned with Laban, and stayed there until now. And I have oxen and asses, flocks and men servants and women servants. And I have sent to tell my Lord that I may find grace in thy sight. So he is lowering, humbling himself, calling Esau Lord, and that he's hoping to find grace in Esau's sight. But in Genesis 32, 6 through 8, it said, And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee. And also he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks, and the herds, and the camels, into 2 bands. And he said, If Esau come to one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape. So he is he's expecting the worst. He is fearful that Esau is going to kill him, and he's afraid that he'll kill all his wives and his children as well. And he deviseth a plan. In 32, 9 through 22, we read, And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, the God of my father Isaac, the Lord which saidst unto me, Return into thy country and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. I am not worthy of the least of all of the mercies and of all of the truth which thou hast showed unto thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become 2 bands. So he had to make the 2 bands. So he's scattered, he's separated. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me and the mother with the children. And thou saidst, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, and which cannot be numbered for multitude. And he lodged there that same night, and he took of that which came to his hand a present to Esau his brother. So he's making gifts to Esau: 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, camels and their coats, 40 kine and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses and 10 fowls. And he delivered them into the hand of his servant, every drove by themselves. And he said unto his servants, Pass over before me, and put a space between drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, When Esau my brother meeteth thee, and ask thee, saying, Whose art thou? And whither goest thou? And whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, They be thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau. Behold also, he is behind us. So they're to say each servant that's over each drove is supposed to acknowledge that Esau is Lord of Jacob. Jacob is Esau's servant. And to tell him that these are a gift from him and that Jacob is behind them. So in 20, and also in 19, and so commanded he the second, the third, and all that followed the drove, saying, On this manner shalt thou speak with Esau when you find him, and say ye moreover, Behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us, for he said, I will appease him with a present, and goeth before me, and afterward I will see his face, peradventure he will accept me. So he's there to tell Esau that Jacob is trying to find favor with him and hoping that he will accept him, and that he won't, and hopefully that he will have mercy on him. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. And 32:24, and Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and thou hast prevailed. So the wrestling there was with God. And we know that Jesus said, If you have seen me, you have seen the Father. So we know that it was Jesus in man form that he was wrestling against. And he touched Jacob's thigh, and it was out of joint. And he said to Jacob that he was strong and that he did prevail. And Jacob asked him and said, Tellest me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, Wherefore is it that thou hast asked after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. So we know that had to be Jesus in the flesh, because he said he's seen God face to face, and no man has seen God at any time. But if we have seen Jesus, we have seen God. And even though, that's why I was talking before, like when Paul was saying, I sit in heavenly places, he was on earth and he was preaching. But he said that he sit in heavenly places because God is eternal and time is different for God. Even though he hadn't been born of the Virgin Mary yet, he was still sitting in heavenly places. And he had already been formed what he would look like when he came to earth, because he already knew who his parents would be, God and the Virgin Mary. And he passed over Peniel, and the sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. So where his thigh was out of joint, he was having trouble walking. Therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew that shrank. So we see where he wrestled with God, and he prevailed, and he wouldn't let him go until he blessed him. So he did bless him, and he told him that no more will you be called Jacob, but you will be called Israel. And Jacob lifted up his eyes in chapter 33, and looked, and behold, Esau come with him 400 men, and he divided the children unto Leah, and unto Rachel, and unto the handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, Rachel and Joseph hindermost. So here he is, still playing favorites, right? Because he put the handmaid's children first, and then Leah, and then Rachel. So he felt like she was more protected because she was farther back, her and Joseph. And Esau ran to meet him, and embraced him, and fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they wept. To me, that is, it always gets me, because we know how angry Esau was, and how he wanted to kill Jacob so much. But the time that Jacob spent with Laban, something was happening with Esau. Esau became a good man. Even though he wasn't a good man at the time, and God didn't choose him, because he knew that in Esau was the things that he was going to be a proud, boastful man, and he was going to have some of these qualities that God hates. But something happened to Esau. He cultivated his heart, and he became a good man. And he wasn't going out there to make war and kill and slay Jacob and his family and take all that he had. He was going out there to see his brother and to kiss his brother, because he loved him. And to me, that's what God can do. When we cultivate our heart, we can take the anger, we can take the hate out, we can become good men. And that always gets me. Because he didn't just walk, he didn't just ride up like he was a prideful man. He ran to him. He ran to meet him, and he embraced him, and he fell on his neck, and he kissed him, and they wept. I'm sure Jacob wasn't expecting that. I'm sure he thought, what's happened to Esau? God had softened his heart. God had cultivated his heart, and he became a good man. And he lifted up his eyes, and he saw the women and the children, and he said, who are these with thee? And he said, the children which God hath graciously given thy servant. So Jacob is still calling himself his servant. And we know that Isaac foresaw that one day Esau would break the yoke from Jacob's neck, and he would be dominant over Jacob. And this is the time that it happened. And Jacob is letting him know, I'm your servant. He is humbling himself to Esau, even after he's seen that Esau didn't mean him any harm. And he said, what meanest thou by all these drove which I met? And he said, these are to find grace in the sight of my Lord. And there again, he is telling Esau, you are over me. I am your servant. And Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Keep that thou hast unto thyself. Even Laban would have took everything if God hadn't warned him in a dream. And he had been with Laban many, many years. It said 20 years. He was with Laban. But Laban would have left him without anything. And here's his brother. When he left him, he was wanting to kill him. But he said, I have enough. I don't need your things. I don't need what you have. You keep them to thyself. And Jacob said, Nay, I pray thee, if now I have found grace in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand, for therefore I have seen thy face, and though I had seen thy face, as though I have seen the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me. So, the time that he spent those 20 years away, I'm sure he thought many times how Esau was right to be angry. He knew that he had stolen his blessing, and I'm sure he felt bad about that. So he never dreamed that Esau would be pleased with him. But it happened, and he said, I want you to take these gifts because thou wast pleased with me. Take, I pray thee, my blessing that I brought to thee, because God hath dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it. So, we can't ask for forgiveness to someone if it doesn't cost us something. Because basically, this was Jacob asking for forgiveness from Esau. And it cost him something. He gave him a great gift, many gifts. So, we can say, I'm sorry. But if it doesn't cost you something, if you don't turn from what you were doing and become better and try to be a blessing to those people that we hurt, that we need to apologize to, then our sorry doesn't mean anything. It has to cost you something, or it doesn't mean anything. And he said, let us take our journey, and let us go. I will go before thee. And he said unto him, my Lord knoweth that the children are tender, and the flocks and the herds are young with me. And if men should overdrive them one day, all the flocks will die. Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servant, and I will lead on softly according to the cattle that goeth before me, and the children, that the children be able to endure. And I come to my Lord to Seir. And Esau said, let me now leave with thee some of the folk that are with me. And he said, what needeth it? Let me find grace in the sight of my Lord. So Esau turned that day on his way into Seir, and Jacob journeyed in Succoth, and he built him a house, and he made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth. And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Shalem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padanaram, and he pitched his tent before the city, and he bought a parcel of a field where he had spread his tent at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar, and he called it Elohe Israel. Alright, so we see where Jacob left Laban, went back, and he met Esau, and that always gets me. It always gets me. So we're going to go, I think I'm going to skip a little bit for our next study. And I don't know if I'm going to pick up where, I think I'm going to just pick up there with Joseph and his brother and what happened with that. And I'm just going to leave us with a verse. And that's going to be in Zechariah 3, chapter 3, verse 9. For behold, the stone that I have laid before Joshua, upon one stone shall be 7 eyes. Behold, I will engrave the graving thereof, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will remove the iniquity of the land in one day. All right, so I'm going to go now, and we'll do another study tomorrow. And just remember, I love you, but Jesus loves you so much more. Thank you all for watching. Bye.